What's happening, mate?
How do you mean?
Well, it's not exactly kicking off, is it?
Oh no, it never does. To 8 o'clock!
Sets up Larsson here. Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! O'Reilly. How about that for a pass? Jota! How about that for a finish? That is Jota for you! In for Henrik Larsson. And Moravcik! His first goal for Celtic! Here is Shunsuke Nakamura! Exquisite!
Good evening all and welcome back to the Celtic Unrestricted View. I'm JP and joining me this Friday night, my good man Ryan, we've got Sean and we've got the Sheffield Wednesday captain Barry Bannan. Start with yourself again, Baz. Good evening, mate. Hope you are well. It's good to see you on and I see you're obviously getting ready for this weekend, mate. So how have you been since we spoke to you all night?
Aye, good, mate. Obviously it wasn't long ago that I was on here, so just travelled into London the night. The day took a while, so just in the hotel, relaxing now. And obviously nothing better today with my time, so looking forward to getting on the show and getting dug into it again tonight, mate, and see familiar faces again. Hopefully the wee man stays on for longer than a couple of minutes.
That's what she says.
Virgin Media.
Virgin Media, aye.
For anybody's asking about Virgin Media, that's Virgin Mary's sister, so obviously Ryan knows her really, really well, and he's got her in the night instead of Liam Scales. He's away out for the night. It's good to have you on, Baz. Obviously, it's good to see yourself, Sean. Obviously, I've not had a wee chat with you on here for a bit, mate. I hope you're well, and I hope you've had a good week.
Aye, thanks very much, JP. It's good to see everybody again. It's been a while, so I'm looking forward to talk about all things Celtic. I know there's a lot happened in the space of the time that I've not been on the pod, so I'm sure there's plenty to get stuck into.
Yeah. And obviously yourself, wee man, obviously you've been having some issues and some tissues and other things going on, so hope you're good since the last time I spoke to you.
Never done a moment, mate, with Wi-Fi and 10:30 shows, mate. I'm always busy, so... but I know, all good, mate. Like Sean says, there's been a lot in the last few days as well with Celtic and obviously the game on Sunday, so a lot to get through, and obviously good to get Baz's opinions as well, mate. So looking forward to, as Sean says, back in it again, and obviously looking forward to the game on Sunday. Yeah,
as we all are. Good evening to everybody as well that's joining us across the platforms. I hope you're all well and had a good week yourselves. Got some early commenters in, and Jem, evening hosts and the chat. I agree with the not another penny motto, but with the real staunch fans go with it. Definitely. Mark McDonald, hail, and the chat. £610 for a whole new range. Rather a nice getaway with those prices. For anybody that's probably wondering what the commenters are saying, if you haven't already known, the Celtic Fans Collective held a meeting during the week and they have now decided between them that there's going to be more action taken due to an unsatisfactory result within the meeting that we had a week past Monday. Obviously, some of the actions of the board and the way they've came across, Baz, and obviously the meeting in general wasn't satisfactory to the Celtic fans. in my opinion, mate, I thought it was a big opportunity for the board to try and put some of this to bed and come out and acknowledge some of their own wrongdoings along the way. That doesn't seem to be the case. From the outside looking in, it looks like they believe that they're doing a remarkable job throughout, regardless of what it is they're doing in terms of duties. And obviously now the Celtic fans don't agree. Obviously I sent you over this earlier, but for any of the other viewers that's not aware of what's happening, so this was the kind of cover that they put out, the Celtic Fans Collective, and as you can see, it says "not another penny." So on this, it says, following a widespread agreement among member groups at last night's meeting, the Celtic Fans Collective is launching the Not Another Penny campaign effectively immediately. For too long, the Celtic board have taken supporters for granted. They are responsible for repeated failures in Europe and obviously in the transfer markets as well. So obviously looking at this, Baz, this hasn't been something that's obviously just happened this summer, this transfer window. This has been an ongoing thing with the Celtic fans. And in terms of your own stance, mate, where do you see this? Because obviously, like I says, there's figureheads at the club, mate. They've been there for over 30 years at the football club. Give or take one or two different, job titles, duties, whatever you want to call it. And Peter Lawwell, for being one, he left the club in 2021. And then he returned to the club as a different role. So he was the chief exec. He was then replaced by Don Mackay. And Don Mackay came in, who seemed to be a visionary. He's came in and he's tried to implement change. He's tried to manoeuvre things. He's tried to get things going, and things were happening pretty quickly. And then Peter Lawwell rejoined the club back, and from then, from the outside looking in, it looks as if things have kind of started to stagnate a wee bit. Now, ultimately, the be-all and end-all of this, the Celtic fans, Baz, think that the board lack ambition when it comes to Europe. And their thought process and channel process there is to just be that wee bit ahead of Rangers and keeping Rangers at arm's length. On the Celtic fans' perspective is, we've seen the club with undoubted success, unmatched success, in my opinion. We've completed Scottish football time and time over. So on the European thing, mate, do you agree that there's a lack of ambition there? There's a lack of forward planning, a lack of strategy, and ultimately, where do you put your finger on in terms of what we see as breakdown now, mate?
In terms of ambition in Europe, like you touched on there, I think domestically we've dominated for years and years. I've been really lucky to see a Celtic team that's won a lot of titles since I've grown up. My dad tells me different. He's seen the bad years. So domestically, I can't really grumble about what they've done because we've won loads and loads of trophies. The things that I probably agree with the most are the stadium needs a bit of love, a bit of TLC. It's a lovely stadium. It could be better. You see videos. It was like a kiosk or something that was outside. It's been there for years and barriers, and that could be done a lot better and cleaned up. And you see the outside of the stadium probably needs a bit of work done to it because it's a beautiful stadium. So I definitely agree with that. I think we need to be careful though, as well as in what we're really trying to do here, because I looked at Neil Lennon's comments, who's been around these people, and I've worked with Lenny as my manager. He's an honest man, and he says it how it is. So I looked at his comments on Lawwell and Dermot Desmond, and he says everything that they do is for the benefit of the club. They've got the club at heart. So when I looked at that kind of changed my mind a wee bit, because I've worked under Lenny, so he wouldn't just come out and say that if it wasn't true, kind of thing. I think financially, in progress in Europe, I can see where the fans are coming from as well in that. I think this season being the main season, I really think where after the season we had last season in the Champions League, this was a time to push the button and get some real quality in. For whatever reason, we don't know if it was players turning us down or we were even getting that far. I don't know. I don't know if it was the board don't want to spend the money on the transfer fees or wages. I don't know. But I would have liked to myself as a fan this season seen a bit of more ambition in the transfer market. But you have to also remember as well that the last few seasons we've spent a lot of money. I know we've received a lot of money, but I think we had Amida and Arnie Engels. We broke the record twice in the one transfer market, the club record. So we have spent a good bit of money for a club at Celtic. Since I've known Celtic, they've not really spent money like that. I know Chris Sutton and people like that a couple of years ago were 6 million or whatever it was, but probably that window where Engels, Ida, Trusty and people like that come in, that was a big window. And if we're being honest, the players haven't probably really gave us our money's worth. So maybe the board are looking at it that way, and it doesn't help when you've got probably lesser fees performing more than the higher fees paid, i.e. your Hatatis and your Maidas and people like that. We've always said on here as well that money doesn't buy you quality. Recruitment is the main thing, and it's getting the recruitment right. We've spent 5 million in Balikwisha in its early doors, but we've not really seen a great deal yet for Balikwisha, so hopefully it turns into be an unbelievable signing for us. He could do, but as I said, it's no transfer fees that buy quality. We need. I think what's let us down really is the recruitment side of it recently with the players that we've brought in. We've brought a lot of players in who have had to leave. The Gucci's and people like that were all right transfer fees. So I think we need to be careful where we're going with this, because you look across the water and how they've been run the last couple of years. I know they've got new owners in now. The grass isn't always greener. So if what Lennon is saying is right and these people have got the club's best interests at heart, then I think as a fan base, of course the fans are what make the club and they've got a right to voice their opinion, but I think we need to be careful what route we want to go down and what we want the end outcome to be, because I can only speak from me growing up and what I've seen as a Celtic fan. I've been more than happy with what I've seen since I've been a young boy growing up.
Yeah. No, listen, I can understand that perspective, Baz, in terms of we need to be careful, and it's the old cliche, isn't it? It's be careful what you wish for, because all you need to do is look back to 2012 and you see a club there that wasn't run properly and how things not happening right behind the scenes, etc. But we're in my opinion, I don't know if it's just me, but we're a far cry away from that position also. And Sean, obviously, to get your own thoughts on this movement and everything else that's going on, I think the overall message, mate, is someone at the football club lacks a vision. Now, that vision includes inventory. And I think you had someone in Don Mackay there. I think we've got 30 members, that I was reading today, we've got 30 members of staff on our media team. Now, some of them will probably be, you know, I don't doubt some of them might be PR or whatever, but 30 members in the media, in the multimedia team. And you see some tweets going out at the wrong times. You see things happening when other things are going on with the football club. And it's like, you're seeing the same message all the time. Read the room, guys, you know. But when you look at that, mate, and you look at the forward, as Baz says, the recruitment side of things, I think that's where we're all focusing on, because I know transfers and football recruitment is not an exact science. So nobody has to tell me that more than anybody. But when you look at, as Baz says, the high turnover of players that are continue coming in the door and then they're being moved on, and I don't think it goes as deep just as a recruitment. I think you need to look at our youth development as well. The amount of money that's been paid into our academy, and the ultimately the real lack of talent coming through, because the talent coming through, they're kind of far and few between. Years ago, growing up, man, you had guys like Aidan McGeady, Sean Maloney, Stephen McManus, boys like that coming through the academy. John Kennedy himself, who's still with the football club, he's assistant manager, obviously. In terms of your own stance, Sean, where do you think there's been a breakdown there? And obviously, it's one of those ones that's got to be very difficult to put your finger on an exact point. But where do you see where because there's a breakdown between now the fans and obviously the board. But how have we even got to this point?
I really agree with what Barry said at the end there. You know, we need to really be careful about where we as fans want to see what we see as success at Celtic. I think I've seen somewhere in the last 20 seasons we've won 16 of them, losing only 4. I think you can't underestimate the success that this board has brought and the stability and how financially where we are. I agree with what the fans have said, this season, that the board didn't get it right. They just didn't. The transfer windows was a shambles. They didn't recruit well. There was failings. But this board isn't perfect either, JP. We need to understand that as well. It's very, very unprecedented, the success that Celtic have had over the years. And that's down to the board. And what Barry said as well, you look across the water and their situation with managers season after season. This board has acted really quickly when Celtic have needed managers. Even, bringing in Neil Lennon, I know he never secured the 10, but, he finished a treble, he completed a quadruple treble. We acted quick when, Eddie Howe let us down. We went in, we got Ange. That a lot of people didn't see that coming. I, for one, didn't. Not a lot of us didn't know Ange, but the board backed him, and they backed his vision, they backed his signings. And you look across the water, and these are high risk. If that goes wrong, that falls on the board. But when it goes right, it doesn't really get recognised by fans. As I've seen fans saying that was luck. The appointment of Ange, and that's, statements like that just don't make sense to me. But yeah, I do think the recruitment this season has fallen short, and they have to take ownership of that. In terms of calling to remove the board, and I think we need to remember what they've delivered for us as well. You just can't overlook that. But me as a Celtic fan, every season I go into, my main priority, and yes, I want to see us do well in Europe. I want us to have these big, massive nights. Like when we Nakamura free kick at Parkhead against Manchester United. I want nights like that at Celtic. But as a Celtic fan, whenever I go into a new season, I just want to see us beat Rangers. That's my priority, JP. Rangers and Celtic is one of the biggest rivalries in the world. They are our rivals. My remit as a Celtic fan is we need to be better than them, first and foremost. And this board has delivered that, season after season. The managers have delivered it. trebles, quadruple trebles, invincible seasons. I just look at like when we are successful against them, even you'll see it even in the Glasgow derbies when there's nothing at stake. Last season, we got beat or we draw, and fans are up in arms. This isn't acceptable, and and I just think to myself, like, if I'm feeling like that when we're winning titles and we're winning cups and we're streaks ahead of them, imagine if they were winning titles and beating us in cups, and that feeling you just losing a meaningless derby is going to be tenfold if you're losing leagues and you're losing cups. And we've not experienced that as Celtic fans, JP, or the last the COVID season. Everybody can agree that was just everything went wrong for us that season. And I personally, I remember saying to my pal, the next guy we get in, because we looked that, it was that bad a season. The recruitment was that bad. It looked like, and obviously Gerrard, we didn't know, he looked as if he was Stein, so it looked like, they were going to have another 2-3 seasons of success under him. The board acted quick, and the rest is history. We went on to win the season after that, and then the season after that, and then the success has just continued. So I find it very, very difficult to totally, when I was at the game, when they were all booing and sack the board, I can't get involved in that personally. I understand fans, they've got the right to express themselves, and they've got their own beliefs and what success looks like for Celtic. But I think with Europe, it's always going to be difficult for Celtic to be successful in Europe. I think we should be competing more. We're a big club. We've got the money there. We should be competing more. But I think as well, I've got to look at this season was the Kairat games. For me personally, that's on Brendan. I think there was enough in that, in both those ties, and the team that we fielded, we had enough in that to get the job done. Regardless of the signs and the recruitment, we should have still had enough. But that aside, like I said, Matt, and I also agree with Barry. I think the stadium needs a bit of TLC. It does. I've seen the clips that he's pointing to as well, and I put my money into that. And also there was a whole campaign for the standing section for the fans behind the Celtic wall. I was totally for that as well, but it never came to nothing. But I don't know. I would like to hear your guys' opinion, JP and Ryan, on what you think of the current situation. But I'm with Barry on this. I think we really need to be careful. The grass isn't always greener, and sometimes it's better the devil you know is the devil you don't.
Yeah, well, I've obviously summarised this quite quickly. I've always, since this summer window came in, and it was at that point where it was enough's enough, should I say. I've always been an advocate for change in terms of the way we recruit, like Baz had mentioned about the recruitment not being good enough and everything else. I want us to see us changing the way we do it. And when I say change, I don't mean change radically, because our player trading model's been highly successful for a football club. When I'm talking about change, I mean changing the timing of when we do it. Like if we sell a big player, make sure we've either got someone in the building or someone ready to come into the building. And it's not going to be weeks and months of being underprepared and going into the season games. I want to see us, I'm going to say it, I want to see us show a bit more ambition when it comes to Europe. Because we get too hung up on, well, Celtic got the Champions League knockout phase. Yeah, we did, but that was there once. Prior to that, I want to see us stop getting turned over with teams like Kairat. I mean, throughout the years, man, I've watched teams like Fenwick Varos beating us, Maribor, Malmo, Molde. I mean, I could go on, the list is endless. So, and I want us to start, changing the timing of when we sign these players. No, Aniacho and Tenecki, they should have been in a fortnight before to give us an opportunity of the Champions League qualifier. Now, I'm not saying the squad, and I agree with you, Sean, I think that's on Brendan for me. Brendan failed to motivate the players enough to go about the Kairat game properly. Now, I know there's other things going on, and there's players wanting away, and there's players wanting to move on, there's players... But you then have to, again, you then have to manage that in a way that you can still get a message across that you need to get the result on the park. Obviously, Ryan, I know it's been a wee bit of time here, mate, since you last got a wee word in there, mate, but in terms of what's going on now with the fan movement and everything else, mate, where are you with this? Because is it the transfer window that we've just surpassed? Because had that transfer window in and Celtic did sign Kasper Dolberg and did sign the boy Jacob Broom and did sign, would we be even having this conversation just now? Or would this always have been something that maybe have come up, whether it be January or next summer or down the line? Who knows? Hindsight's a beautiful thing. But where do you sit in all this, mate? Because ultimately, like the lads have said, the recruitment side of it, we can't keep continuing, in my opinion, to put ourselves in these positions where we're under-preparing the team manager, we're then under-preparing the rest of the squad, and we're leaving the team depleted. Barry was on the other night with us, and he mentioned about the right wing. We've still not addressed that scenario, and Nicholas Kuhn left months ago. So, in terms of everything that's going on with the Celtic fans collective and everything else, mate, what's your stance?
I just think the fans, well, me personally, I can only talk for myself and maybe some fans that I know, but me personally, I just think it's standards, JP. You've got to nearly putting Bayern Munich out. That's the standard now. And for that to that, it's the calibre of player. I know, obviously, Baz will know more than us, been involved in football and working with agents and in clubs and stuff, but I'm not saying we don't need qualifications, JP, going to scout a player. I could go to an Amsterdam game tomorrow and look at one player and go, he can play higher, he's good, touches this. Why is he not playing higher? Right away. So how are some of these guys, who are the recruitment staff, if it's them or the board, whoever it is, the board don't scout players, right? And then Michael Nicholson, Lowell, Desmond, they're no sitting looking at videos, and that's down to the manager on the recruitment side. The player trading model is good in terms of signing low, selling high, but see the actual many players we have signed that have not done well recently, it's probably pretty high. We've probably had some that have been really, really poor. Rodgers' first season back, Mason are away. They've no side. They've no made contributions, really. They've came out, sold, loans. So that side, and for me, it's just standards, mate. Now, we can talk about Greg Taylor last year, Scales, Yangs, all A players, right? They're doing okay for what they've done so far. But the standards of the football club, see 5-6 years ago, the A players were going on your bench, JP. But that's due to recruitment. That's not the board, that's recruitment. We shouldn't be having some of the players we have got that are trying to help you in Europe, shall we say. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. But that's on the recruitment, that's not on the board. The recruitment staff and the manager are Hearts. Just look at Hearts, right? What they've got is obviously similar to Brighton's, basically Brighton's, what they've got, right, and how successful they've been with players. Hearts have probably got the best scouting system in Scotland, probably, in terms of analysis and everything they're doing. Celtic Rangers, to me, it just seems like I don't know what it seems like they're doing, but what's the process of scouting players? Because, like you said there, it's just, we'll get him, he's good. But they're a bit. So where's the right winger been targeted? Where's the fullback? Where's I don't know if it's complacency, JP, because they know the new Rangers and Ladies now, and they can maybe get the odd game against you, and they can beat us because we know eventually we'll take care and we'll win the league. But if they end up getting a challenge, but again, is that when they start going, right, now we need to get it right now we need to start motoring? You can't have that. You need to do it now. And that summer was probably the biggest opportunity for us to go, bye-bye, see you later, and continue. Because if they qualify for Europe, by the way, the Champions League, they close the gap on us financially. They get another 40 million. maybe shuts the gap to 50, 60 million, they do it again. You don't want that gap closing. We need to be in Europe every season for Celtic to be better. And that's not Europa League, it's the Champions League. And I think it's going to get harder next year, the year before. And I think it would have probably have papered the cracks if we got Dahlberg and Jacob Broom. But we've got qualifiers for one next year. But we're the same state next year. Waiting to the last day of the window and waiting to the last qualifier. It's a European side for me. I'm like Baz and Sean and yourself. Domestically, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine with it because eventually we'll get good enough players to win the league. But it's a European side for me, and I think they undervalue yourself, JP, and what players we can get. I don't think you need to spend a lot of money. You look at Club Brugge, they've only spent what, 30, 40 million, and they're qualified. Can Celtic not do that with the right recruitment and get the right players in? Like Baz says, that we should just yet, we don't know. But that's 5 million. Could we not spend that 5 million on somebody who was already basically fully fit, ready to come in and no need to adapt? It's small things like that. Like even saying Japanese players.
I had the Club Brugge stats here, mate. They sold 70 millions worth of talent.
They sold a lot of money, aye.
And they recruited just over 50. So they reinvested some of that into the team.
So 50 million, right? Could we get that? I don't know, right? Just say 35, 30 could be our max, but you can get 5 or 6 really good players for that. Instead of signing 11 players, sign 5 or 6 good ones, or at least 3 or 4 out of them. You signed 11 players, 5 or 6 aren't even in the squad. That's really good recruitment. 5 might be starting, but you've signed guys who aren't even playing. They're getting wages to just, no, I mean, they're disrespectful, but they're picking up the cones basically. They're not playing. They're not doing their job. They're not actually getting to play football. You've signed guys like Yamada and Anamura. Never going to play for you. Forget it. They're not going to play. It's money that, see that money there who would be spent on them, right? Now, I don't think they're good enough to take Celtic forward in Europe, right? Why not spend that £2 million on Martin Borrow for Scotland? You know you're going to get assists, you're going to get goals. Spend the £2 million on Kieran Bibby, he's going to get you goals, he'll do well in Scotland. Instead of signing people they're not going to play, the manager basically came out and said, I don't want them. I didn't sign them. And then you get Michael Nicholson going, I don't know what a club signing is. Of course you know what it is, Michael. You're involved in the board. So my thing for me is, JP, no, I don't want them all out. I don't want anything like that. I want the club to be modernised. A change of direction. If it's a sport director, let the business people deal with the business side and let the football department deal with the football side, because I don't know everything in the roots of it, but I think there's still to and fro between Desmond, Lawwell, Bickett. I think there's a combination of guys getting involved. I think it's similar to when Mowbray was here, where like Venus, they're all in the football department, they're all saying different things. I don't think they're all together, and that's obviously making us not together. Some fans are saying we want this, we want that, we want this. I think the recruitment's a massive thing, I think recruitment's a massive thing. Because, like you just mentioned, JB, you're getting beat with teams in the past like Mulder. You had Stefan Johansson come out and say Mulder not in your league, and then we're going to get beat off them. You can't say things like that in the media. It's just putting headlines, and it's making you fall. It's making you go for a fall. So I'm not wanting them all out. I'm wanting change like you. I'm wanting maybe some members to take a step back, get some new blood in, some freshness in, a change of direction. Like Baz says, the standards of the stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. The Celtic way is beautiful, but there's a banner hanging off. All the steel boxes are rusty, and the toilets in the main stand are horrible. There's hardly any disabled acts. It's tiny things like that makes you better. They're spending that money in Barrowfield. Why not spend it at the park first, in the stadium first, and then deal with that? Because that, as you mentioned, the youth, we're not having any youth through there now, and I don't think the women team's doing much now. So. It's a hard one, JP. You're not, like Baz said, but you do need to be careful because they have been so good for us domestically. But I do think there'd be change if it's a sporting director or because it's strange for me as well that Don Mackay came in and then they've got basically a waiver that now he can't speak about why he left. That's strange for me. So something in between them that we don't know about and probably never find out about. So that's strange. He came in, signed Jackie Marcus, get Andrews in the door, all the guys, and then he's away again. And the club go back down that spiral again. It's the same, taking ages, this and that. So I don't know. But for me, I think I'm like you. It's a bit of change of direction, modernise the club a wee bit, go with the times, because as much as you guys have been good for us, they're not going to change their spots. Things aren't going to get quicker unless there's fresh people in, because they've done the same thing for years, waiting qualifiers, we'll wait for the Champions League, and I think this year's just been, wee bit of change. But I do agree with Baz and Sean that you need to watch and be careful. You can't get them all at the same time, because what happens if the people who come in totally, absolutely abandon the club and we go for that to that? You don't want that. But for me, it's just standards, mate. I just want the standards to be high all the time. And I think recently they've lacked a wee bit at that level. And I just want it to be, because like you say, mate, the Champions League, mate, was an open goal. That was it was a shoe-in. Let's be really honest here. That was a shoe-in to go and get 30, 40 million. And ultimately, it's not happened, mate.
Yeah. But I was obviously looking at that, and you know, Celtic fans will sit and say, JP, there's 70 odd million pound in the bank or whatever it is. It's declared 77 million. They're just shy of that. I tell you what, mate, 1 or 2 more seasons, no qualifying for the Champions League and drop them into Europa or even the Europa Conference, and very little does that money then start to dwindle. So, in terms of the ambition side of it, man, do you think they're ambitious enough, mate, when it comes to the transfers, like, for Europe? Because it just, I don't know if it's just me, just comes across as if, you know, they only that first or whatever. You hear the shrug of the shoulders for Michael Nicholson at the fan meeting regarding, as Ryan touched on there, with the players being signed, and Yamada and Amura, why were they players signed? And Michael Nicholson shrugged his shoulders as if, well, it's not really anything to do with me, it's down to Brendan. And Brendan's speaking to the media, and so there's a clear breakdown somewhere. And I think Ryan's onto something there, Baz, in terms of there's no everybody all singing off the same hymn sheet. And quickly, we need to get back to that, otherwise the lack of communication for the hierarchy to the fans as well is becoming a huge problem, mate.
I think ambitious enough for Europe? Probably not, in terms of signings we've made. But at the same time, I think we need to realise what window we're shot them in as well. I.e., a lot of people will try and go to different countries to play their football, and European football as well. So we're not in the same transfer window as your English Premier League teams, your German teams, your Italian teams. The Scottish League puts us in a place where there'll only be certain players that would come to Celtic and Rangers. And if they've got options elsewhere and more appealing leagues, they'll probably go there. So it is hard in terms of being ambitious and bringing in marquee signings that we would look at and think that's a marquee, i.e. people like Kasper Dolberg. We were trying to get him, excited everybody. All the Celtic fans wanted him. Great pedigree. A German team comes in last minute. Next thing you know, he might not be going there. He might be going to Germany, and then it's Ajax. People like that. So that's what happens when you go for players of that calibre. You're competing against clubs who probably will pay more wages, and the league's more appealing for that player as well. And I see people comparing this to Club Brugge, and we're bigger than Club Brugge, but what they've got that we haven't got is a lot of Club Brugge's players are homegrown and coming through the academy. And people say, but how can we not do that? But then you look at the Belgian national team compared to the Scottish national team, there's levels. Norway, Bodo Glimt, another team that's nowhere near the size of Celtic. But the Norwegian national team, you look at that and they've got young players who play for Bodo Glimt. You only have to look at people like Erling Haaland and Martin Odegaard and people.
Would you think that's down to Baz? Is it the culture? Is it because they get to play football more often, coach better? Would you think that is how we have? Obviously, our climate's no great. I know Norway's probably no great. I know, mate, Denmark, stuff like that. But what do you think? Because I'm like you. I'm struggling to put my finger on it. How we can't get? Is it coaching? Is that a big thing? Do you think they're overcoached at a level? Just let them play. What's your opinion on it, mate?
it's hard, isn't it, mate? Because you look at it and you look at the national team, and since I've been born, we've been to a few tournaments recently, but we've never really done anything as a country. So it's not just that's not just recent. That's been our history. But you look at teams like Belgium, and they had one of the best. I know they never won anything, but that team that's just came to an end for the Belgians, that was one of the best teams that everybody had down in paper in the world, and it's only a small country. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a coaching or it's the lifestyle that us as young kids are brought into, and how we grow up compared to the Belgians and the Norwegians. I think probably it's safe to say they probably live a better lifestyle than us, which I don't know. Does that help? I don't know. But when I see people comparing us to Club Brugge and Bodo Glimps and that, a lot of these teams, they spend money, but like JP said there, they bring in a lot of money for people who have come through the academy, who go on to be world stars in Europe. So it's hard to compare us with them. I know we're a bigger club in terms of the size of the club, but their academies are way, way better, and they produce way better players. I think the back four for Bruges against Rangers was all academy graduates.
I think you're right, mate.
Who are starting to play for the Belgian national team. Then you've got people like Van Aken, who's a Belgian internationalist, who's been in Belgium all his career nearly. So we can't compare ourselves to teams like that. I know that's because we spend their money probably in better wages than them, but we're forgetting that their academy's producing the majority of their players. They don't need to go and sign players because it's coming through their academy, and we've just not got that. Whatever reason it is, coaching, I don't know, but when you look at the history of Belgium compared to Scotland, we've never really been on a par with them countries, and I think that filters into your club teams as well, and why they do better.
Would you agree though, Baz, that our academy needs altered in the way that we're doing things though, because it is obviously apparent that there's not a lot of youth boys getting an opportunity for our first teams. Now, granted, the Celtic managers have changed throughout the years, like Ange Postecoglou's and Neil Lennon's and, Brendan Rodgers, but there isn't years ago it felt like there was a conveyor belt coming through of talent, like your Maloney's, McGeady's, guys like that. That's kind of really stopped now, and they're far and few between. I think the biggest one we all had hope on was Karamoko Dembele. All of what's happened to him, he's totally fell off a cliff. So he was the next big issue and big thing. Probably Ben Doak is another one. He then quickly moved on to Liverpool. So do you agree though that it's definitely a factor that it needs looked at, in my opinion, because I just don't think playing against civil service strollers on a Saturday is doing any of these boys a world of good. Now, I quite like this idea that it's the same as Croatia, I think, now, where they get loaned out to a championship club and they go and try and develop themselves against kind of men, ex-senior pros who have dropped down a level and stuff like that. I agree with that. I agree that could be a step in the right direction. That's just not happened long enough. Like your Dane Murray's came from that avenue into the Celtic team, but do you think it would be a good thing to try and rejuvenate or revamp the way that we're doing that then?
I think where we probably went wrong as a club in the last few years is, you speak about Karamoko Dembele, fell off a cliff. I played against him the other week. He was unbelievable.
QPR he's with, wasn't it?
He's been injured a fair bit, but when he's played for QPR, he's been really, really good. So I think he'll be one that will build himself back up. He's coming back to the confident player that apparently broke onto the scene at Celtic. But it goes to me then, speaking about us being in a different window and we're in for a player in another. That's happened to our young boys that we've not even had a chance to give them a chance. The good ones, your Ben Dokes, your Dembele's, because their heads have been turned with bigger clubs or better leagues or more money. So it's not even the fact that we're not producing them, because Ben Doak arguably starts every week for Celtic right now, on the right-hand side of the park, but we let him go when he was 16, 17. Rocco Vata, arguably, would probably start. He's doing really well in the Championship. He done well at Watford last year. He would play games for Celtic if we could keep him. But so we have produced players. Caramore Dembele as well. He would play games for us at the minute. So I think we have produced players, but we've just not had a chance to put them in the team, because as soon as they break on the scene, the big teams from down south come sniffing, and the heads are turned and they leave. I know what people are saying about loaning people out, and I just think nowadays footballers are getting better and better at a younger age nowadays. I used to think at me at 16 and think, I wasn't anywhere near ready first team football. I look at some of the 16-year-olds now that you've got the boy at Liverpool, the left wing at Liverpool, you've got Max Dowman at Arsenal. These are 15 and 16-year-olds who are fighting to start every week for Liverpool and Arsenal. So we're talking about having reserve leagues and loaning them out, but if they're good enough, play them. Play them. And at the end of the day, I've said this for ages as well. See if you play one or two 16, 17-year-olds who are the most talented at the club, is it going to stop us from winning games domestically? I can't see it. I think you can afford to play one or two of them, read them in, especially domestically at the minute where we are so dominant. I think you can play these up-and-coming good players in the first team now with the better players like your Hatatis and people like that, and let them learn for them. And maybe that'll keep them. But trying to offer them 4 and 5, 6 grand a week and saying, but you're still playing with the 18s and you're still playing with they're not going to stay, because they're getting offered double that. And the likelihood is they go down to England, sign for a Premier League or a Championship team, and go and loan and play first team football anyway, but get double their wages. So I think the reason that we're missing out on them and people are thinking the academy's not really producing, probably is, but we're not giving them a chance. If you give them a chance, they're going to be thinking, this is brilliant, playing in front of 60,000 every week. I'll stay here. But if you're just going to offer them money and say you can go to Queen's Park or Ayr United or whatever, they're going to get an offer for England and double that money and go elsewhere and go and play for a Championship or a League One team down there. It's a no-brainer for them. So I wouldn't really blame the because I think there's definitely been players that I've just mentioned who have came through the academy and could have played for our first team, but we've lost them.
Yeah, it's a brilliant insight, Sean, isn't it? When you hear Baz, it's quite refreshing hearing that people, in my opinion, when people talk about the youth, they're quite quick to go, he's not good enough, he's not able to get in the team, blah blah blah. But it might not just be a case of it. It might be the fact that he's just not getting a chance. There's other boys who, like Baz mentioned earlier also, you're spending £5 million on Balikwisha. And Baz is bang on, by the way, up until setting up Maeda's winning goal against Motherwell. He ultimately showed us nothing. So, are we too quick, mate, to go out and just spend that £4 or £5 million on these guys, and we'll maybe get a boy like Jude Bonner sitting on our bench and he's just not getting an opportunity because we play under a pressure cooker here, and we play under there seems to be an outside fear looking in saying, well, you can't really throw these young boys in because you're chasing titles, you're trying to play in Europe, you're doing this, you're chasing cups, or is it just merely the fact, as Baz says, these boys just aren't getting a chance, and that's why these boys' heads are getting turned and they're moving on?
I think it's difficult to obviously get the youth into squads like Celtic and in the bigger leagues, teams in bigger leagues. It's difficult because the first team squads are always so competitive, and the subs. I mean, you look at Celtic's bench over the past few years. It's been very competitive benches. other than this season where we have lacked due to the recruitment. Balikwisha, for me, the jury's still out on him. I don't actually know what his position is. He's played almost everywhere apart from striker. But I think there is a player there in Balikwisha. But I do
We
agree.
cannot tell he's played in goals though, because he wears his gloves, doesn't he? So he's definitely the shot in goals once or twice, isn't he?
I can't have that, man. 13 degrees, he's wearing gloves, man. Jesus, man.
Definitely a cultural thing, mate. Definitely.
Definitely.
No used to the cold, mate. But I don't know if it was Matt Busby that said, if they're good enough, it doesn't matter their age, play them. Sure, there's a famous quote in there somewhere. I'm sure it's Matt Busby, but I look at like Dane Murray. I think he's got everything you would want in an up and coming centre back for Celtic. He's young, he's big, he's strong, powerful. I would like to see him get a good run out throughout the season. We've said many times on the podcast how we're crying out for more centre backs. I mean, there's a ready-made centre back for us, and we're not going to have to go and pay 4, 5, 6 million for him. We paid 5 million for Trusty, and he's not really impressed that much. And for what I've seen for Dane Murray every time I've watched him, I've been very, very impressed. So I think I totally agree with Barry. I didn't look at it like that. Actually, that it's difficult to keep a hold of these boys, but if we actually are getting people that are coming up that are good and do have quality to play in this Celtic team, but trying to keep them is the problem, because as much as other clubs are bringing through their own youth, they're also looking at clubs to see what their youth is, because there's a bargain to be made in there. When you look at some of the young boys that are coming in and playing first team football, you look at Yamal from Barcelona. I think is he only turning 18 soon or something, and he's world class.
I think so, aye.
So you see clubs now, prepared to go to a club and look at their youth system. And Ben Doak, I thought Ben Doak's fantastic player. And Barry's right. If he's here, he's playing right mid for us. Game in, game out, because he's got quality. But when Liverpool come in for somebody, how can you tell the boy stay with Celtic? And this the same happened with the boy. God, what was his name again? Liam.
Daniel Kelly.
No, the boy at centre mid for Celtic that ended up going to Manchester United. He's passed away now. God rest him.
Liam Miller.
Liam Miller.
Liam
When
Miller.
he came through, he was, he looked fantastic. Manchester United coming from. I know he didn't go to have a great success at United, but how can you say no to Manchester United coming in for you, the lure of the Premiership, bigger wages, playing round about all the quality that was in that Manchester United team at that time. So it is difficult to keep a hold of these young boys coming through, but the ones that we have got there, play them. It might even give us a better chance of selling them on for a higher value. So it's always going to be difficult, I think, mate. How competitive the Celtic team is, the Celtic squad as a whole. But like I said, I really like the look of Dane Murray, and I'd like to see him get more game time in a Celtic jersey, because I think he's got all the attributes to be a really, really successful player at Celtic, and potential to take care of the armband when a certain Callum McGregor needs to hang it up, which is 2-3 seasons away maybe. So I've always spoken on this pod about us having somebody in that squad right now to learn under McGregor, and somebody he can pass the mantle over to, because that's what happened with Scott Brown, with Callum McGregor, and look how successful that's been for us. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, Ryan. Obviously, when you look at the youth development, it's something I've spoke to you in volumes of, mate. We could be looking at the next batch coming through now. When you look at Kobe Donovan, Dane Murray, you're then the next couple of names that I've I keep reading and keep hearing, and Francis Lester, one of my regular commenters, mentioned it the other night when we were on as well. The young lad Kyle Urey, who scored for Scotland in the international break there. He's another one, and he's the one that's been tipped by Brendan Rodgers, by the way, to have big things at Celtic. And there is murmurs already happening that Kyle might be getting recalled in January. He's doing that well for Brendan to have more of a closer look at him quicker. There's another one still within Celtic's ranks, and he's still lingering about. He's not been loaned out again. Brendan mentioned that he's really happy with his progress and everything else. Is young Ben Summers. So there is a kind of batch there, Ryan, now slowly but surely burning away there, mate. Training, developing. Jude Bonner's another one. As Baz says, mate, I don't think it would detriment the team at all by playing these boys against Ross County or a St Mirren or a Dundee. And by the way, that's no disrespect to any of these teams. Listen, these lads have come through our academy, Ryan. So they must be at a level where, you know, they must be ready, or run about ready. Now, what it's a case of is playing in front of the fans, because the majority of these lads are all Celtic fans, mate. So they know what the expectation level is of them. But we've seen Dane Murray, like Sean says. We know what he's capable of. He's actually scored for the team this season as well. We've seen Kobe Donovan. Everybody's been impressed with him, and we kind of want to see more. But unfortunately, mate, through the last number of years, there's been that kind of gap where there's been far and few between. I think the last batch was Anthony Ralston, Stephen Welsh, maybe. Apart from the lads that we mentioned that got moved on to other clubs for bigger opportunity in terms of bettering the lifestyle and everything else. Look at Ben Dokes, or Ben Gannon Dokes, should I call him now? He's changed his name now, hasn't he? So he's now at Bournemouth. So he's now went on from Liverpool, and he went for quite a high fee to Bournemouth just a couple of years down the line from moving on for Celtic. So I think it's something, Ryan, that the club they need to start looking at it, mate. They need to start. Brendan's no adverse to putting these lads in. If these lads are showing something, he'll give them an opportunity. Who was it? Come on, was it Bonner that played against Aberdeen?
No, it was
me.
McArdle
Even said at the
on.
time when he came on, that's a big game. Was it McArdle? Was McArdle?
Was it
we even said at the time, that's a big game.
He was brilliant.
Aye. That's what I'm saying, Baz. He was really good when he came on, and he impacted the game. He set up, he does goal. So when you're looking at that and you're going, right, we need to find a place for some of these lads, right?
I'm agreeing with Baz as well. Like, the boy McArdle, for 15-20 minutes, he was different class. Looked comfortable, he looked really, really good in the ball. Pre-season, hardly played a sniff, and now he's playing in the B team. That boy must be, what's going on here? 1 minute I'm training with the first team, coming against Aberdeen, and now I'm playing against East Fife in the lower league. And it must be hard for these boys, JP, now, as much as it might be one of the ones where it's maybe been down a peg a wee bit sometimes, still keeping in a youth dressing room, like you still need to end your stripes, might be in the first team dressing room at training, you might be playing with the first team, whatever else off the bench, but you're still in the youth team, you're still training with youth team. I get all that, but it's happened in the past where they've played 2 or 3 games and they're binned again. What's that going to do to your head as well? I must be good enough to get to that stage, and why am I then playing B team football? And I get, by the way, I'm totally with you, like, how can you develop? Again, it's no disrespect against the teams in the lower league, because I know some of the guys that play there, Manny's there.
Yeah.
So I'm that's still a good level of football. These guys are still kind of athletes in a way, right? But how is somebody playing in a B team going to be ready to just say to Brendan phones, right, lads, you need to be on the bench next week against Aberdeen, we've got injuries. How's that meant to prepare them to then go against 60,000 at Celtic Park? It's no, they're playing in front of 500 people. Again, it's no a disservice to the league, but it's still preparing them for playing first team football. Why not keep them on the bench if it's like Bad says, you bring them on off the bench, but you do it in a time where, for me, the biggest thing, lads, is the timing. With Ben Doak, they almost started playing Ben Doak in the Derby game, etc., when there was rumours about Liverpool wanting them. Why no offer him a deal? If you've got any inch you think that boy's going to be really good and come into this first team and play, give him a deal with a decent wage and maybe even incentives, right? If you play 10 games, you'll get this. If you play 30 games, you'll do this. If you get a Scotland cap, you'll get this. If you play whatever, you'll get this. Incentives, and they go, right, good, that gives me an incentive to keep working hard, keep doing this. But I don't see there's any pathway for the boys. Ben Doak, come on against Rangers, looked brilliant. Certain games, he looked really good. And then Liverpool come in, right, I'm off. But there was no said for him to stay. Like Baz says, right away, he's turned and good money in the Premier League. I've got a better lifestyle, better players. But if you get in the opportunity before they come in,
he went right into Liverpool's first team. It wasn't like he went into their B team. He went right in and started training against Dundee.
I think timing's a big thing, mate, as well. Now, with Kovac as well, like Baz says, he's starting to really do well for Watford. Last year, done well for Watford. Scored a this year, scored a cracking goal. He looks like he's developed physically as well. Obviously, it is a better league, the Championship. Obviously, Baz plays in it. It's a better standard of football in terms of Scotland. There's only really, I know Hearts have done well recently, but there is only really 2 teams really that have quality players year in, year out. For me, timing's a big thing. I think timing's because don't wait till these teams come in and there's a chat. We talk about Kasper Dolberg. See if Celtic done that a week earlier, he's probably got Celtic. But because they wait till the last window and Gladbach or Bremen and Ajax, these strikers, they then go for him and now we can't get him. I think timing's a massive thing when it comes to transfers. But see, I get what you're saying with Dane Murray, right? But I've not seen enough for him to say that he's good enough fully to play with Celtic. I've not seen enough for him to go, he should be playing every week. But because we've not seen him enough. He plays 2 or 3 games and then he's in the squad. That's madness. It's like, obviously, with Bazzy's situation now at Sheffield Wednesday, there's some good players come in. But these boys are thriving. They're performing week in, week out. They're getting plaudits. They're on the bench, coming off and playing. And they're flying for it. But we do that and they're back on the bench and they're away in the stands playing B team football. It's, give them a chance. But in a way, you give them a chance in games like, again, sitting at home. Perfect opportunity, 60,000, 50,000, go and sort your stuff. If you lose the ball, it's fine. Hatate or McGregor will cover for you, or Anthony Ralphs or Johnson, they'll help you. It's fine. But if you go to iBox and do it right, didn't count a fish. But I think Baz is right, and Sean as well, yourself. It's about giving these boys a chance. And if they don't take the chance, then fair enough, that's fine. Down to them. But guys like Jude Bonner, Ricardo, they've come in and done well. Donovan come in and done well. Donovan will probably hardly seen all season now. Because Johnson will play and Ralph will play up behind him. So I think definitely need to change lads that way. But I don't know what you feel as well, Baz, on that. I don't know, maybe because of like Danny Rowe and German managers and things like that, I've seen these young coaches do really well with young players and teams. And do you think maybe it's just not having all Scottish coaches as well, Baz? Maybe a difference of if it's German, Australian, Austrian, any foreign country who's got a good young coach coming up or a good coach to come in and maybe implement new things, because maybe it's just going stale as well, Baz. It's the same thing all the time.
I think we've missed Boston Lolo as well. He's away. He's playing every week. Stoke City, who are top 4 or 5 teams in the Championship this season. He's doing really well at centre half. I just think, like we said, we sometimes we do it in this podcast as well. Like, we actually forget and overlook our young boys. Like Dane Murray, we're asking for Simpson Pussy to come in. Dane Murray there, who probably could come in, do you know what I mean, and play. He's done really well in the games he's played in. But I think it does, like I was speaking about earlier, it's the players that have stayed for our academy, that have come up through our academy, i.e. your Anthony Ralstons, your James Forrest, your Cal McGregors, they boys get played, so they never get their heads turned because they were getting played at a young age, so they felt part of it. But I think as times went on and you're chasing success and you're listening to the fans, I want Europe, I want to go far in Europe, it can put pressure on managers to think, you look at these young boys that are coming through, you think, fans are going to be on me here if we don't win this game or we don't qualify. But there is a time and a place to play these boys and keep them happy and keep them. You need to make them feel part of it. But I think recently the reason these boys have jumped ship is because I've seen it as well at Aston Villa when I was coming through. There's Aston Villa go and sign players at my age for $1 million or whatever it is, the compensation for people. Clubs like Watford, we brought a player for, we brought Sheffield United player, but they came and they never done as well as the boys like me and your Mark Albrightons, who was a local boy, Ian Clark, they brought him up for. These boys went on and made unbelievable, like done really well in their careers. The ones that they signed for the other academies, who were the so-called next big things, they never played for Villa. So sometimes you can look beyond when you've actually got it within. It's just you need to give them a chance and make them feel part of it. You just think sometimes he'll be all right. He's a Celtic fan. Dad's a Celtic fan. They'll be sound. Just keep giving them contracts, they'll be fine. But then it comes to the point where, we've got a good player here. Next thing you know, like you said, Doak, Liverpool speaking to him, it's too late. It's too late. You can't just throw him in games when you hear, Premier League teams are after him. We're going to have to do something to keep him here. If he leaves and goes to Liverpool, looks bad in us. Like the fans will go mad saying how we losing up. It's too late when that news starts coming about that Premier League teams are in. They boys are away. So you need to look within and a lot earlier and make them feel that they're actually a part of it and not just a number.
Yeah, no, I think that's key. I really do. Obviously, to be made feel. I keep referring back to that video that emerged with Brendan coaching the Liverpool boys when Raheem Sterling was only a boy, and just the way he was with him. And I don't think there's enough of that going on with the coaching either. You don't get to see a lot of the videos and see what things are, the kind of things happening in terms of the youth lads. But obviously, Sean, touching on Dundee now, obviously we travel up there on Sunday for a 12 o'clock kickoff. Dundee have not really had a lot of good form prior to this game on Sunday. The last kind of real positive result for them was probably the 9th of September when they went to Ibrox and got the draw. After that, they drew with Kilmarnock. They lost the derby to Dundee United 2-0. Motherwell drew 1 each for them. They lost 1-0 to St Mirren, and they get beat in the last outing with Aberdeen 4-0, who prior to that couldn't buy a win and are rooted bottom of the Scottish Premier League table. I don't know much regarding Dundee, Sean. How much you've been watching them, if you've looked into them at all since Big Elvis took over there. What kind of task do you see Celtic facing going up there on Sunday, mate?
Well, I've no paid close attention to the results, mate, I'll be honest, but I do know, I think they're like sitting second bottom, just above Aberdeen. I think they've won one game since the start of the season. Very unlucky, actually, at Ibrox not to win. I think they could have got a result there. Unlucky. But it's a game that, you don't want to, you don't want to be disrespectful, but, Celtic, that's games that Celtic should be winning comfortably. They've all set up to try and stop us, try and make it difficult, but I think Celtic will just be too strong for them in the end up. Going to be interesting to see how we set up, given that Maeda's obviously ruled out and Alistair Johnson seems to be available for selection again, so it will be interesting. But I just touching on quickly what you were saying before, I think when certainly like teams like Dundee, Livingston, Falkirk are coming to Parkhead, those are games that we could be playing Dane Murray, Donovan, trying out these boys and give them some game time. because I do agree with Barry, like, you need to make them feel a part of it. You know, you need to make them feel like there is a future for them at Celtic. But in terms of this Dundee game, I'm more interested to see how the team's going to line up. I think there's been a huge, there's a huge, how do I say it, sort of collective fan sort of voice for Sinisalo to get a wee try out and all in goal for Celtic. I think, don't know, Kasper Schmeichel, top level keeper, but he's not covered his selling glory the past few games for Celtic, so maybe that might be something, but I doubt it. But I would like to see, that's another one. I know he's youth players, he's a reserve goalkeeper, but he's another one I would like to see in games where, we're at home, we're up against, Livingston, Dundee, Falkirk, teams like that, and the lower end of the table, put Sinisalo in goal and let us see him, because he is going to be, I think he's going to be my first choice keeper going forward. I like everything about him. He's good with the ball at his feet. He's commanding. He's got presence. He can make big saves when it's required. So he's a player I would like to see. But Dundee, it's a game we should be winning comfortably. JP. I don't want to, disrespect Dundee, but I'm looking at my own team and what we have as a squad, and the great start that we've had to the league so far. And that's a game we should be going up there and winning comfortably, mate.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ryan. Sean touches on the goalkeeper change, mate, because I think we've spoken about that as well, in terms of Kasper making errors, and Sinisalo's there for a reason, and he's there to be brought in when Kasper maybe goes off for him. But in terms of Dundee, mate, I don't know yourself, mate, looking at Dundee and what kind of threat they may pose, mate. As I read out, mate, they've not had a great run of form going into the game on Sunday. So how do you see Dundee shaping up against us, mate?
I think they'll probably do. I know they're at home, but it will just be probably try and keep the score down, try and get the first goal if we can, and then go for it. But 9 times out of 10, when Celtic get the first goal in these games, it's normally very hard for these teams to get back into it. So they're known a good run of form, as you say. They're really crying out for results. So I don't know how they'll shape up, but it's one of the ones. Do they go for broke and try and get a victory, or do they just sit in and try and potentially get a draw and keep the score down? I'm not sure. And I think me, you, and Baz spoke about it with Daniel during Wednesday. As a game, we should be getting up there. Obviously, against Motherwell, the momentum should be carrying on. An Arsenal break, some freshness for the players. You should be going to Dundee, and I don't want to say comfortable, like Sean says, be disrespectful, but I know we went up there, was it last year? I think we drew 3 each and we were terrible.
I love it when he does that, man. He goes into screensaver mode. It's absolutely tremendous, isn't it?
Can't even pull that again.
When
We're back now. Are we back now? Aye. I've Virgin's giving me bad headaches, I'm telling you.
Frozen time.
I think it's a game, obviously, we spoke about during the week on Wednesday, that we probably should win comfortably. The momentum from Motherwell should stand instead. Again, if we win it again, Hearts might win Saturday, and if we don't win on Sunday, then we're so we're getting every game right now is obviously at Celtic. You need to win, but we've done a form around the now in terms of performance wise. You do need to Hearts are the table now, so that's us. You need to put it on now. So no, I think again I said it on Wednesday, JP. I'm not saying the O is a big performance, but I think we're due to beat a team with a few goals. Well, we've not scored a lot of goals this season. We've not conceded a lot of goals, which is good. But I think we're due to go up and get a few goals, and some of the players need to step up now. We spoke about Richard, guys like that. The adaptation, your bedding in time, it's done now. You've got October to basically January. You've got a lot of games, European games, semi-finals, the Celtic Park, Ibrox, Rangers playing at Celtic Park soon. So you've got a big run of games now for these players now to perform, and like Baz said as well, that's an opportunity maybe for some young guys to come in, because a lot of games. So if they guys are showing up training, they might go on the bench, they might come on. So, but Dundee, mate, again, I don't want to be disrespectful, but we should be really getting up there and get 3 points and kind of kickstart the rest of the big few weeks we've got ahead, mate.
Yeah, just before we bring you in, Baz, I'm going to play a couple of wee quick audios, mate, regarding Brendan's thoughts of Celtic's beginning of the season, and obviously Sean let the cat out of the bag about the injury issue that we have to Daisen Maeda. So I'll play them just now, and then we'll get your thoughts, Baz, on the upcoming fixture.
Do you want to start with injuries then, Brendan? How is everyone ahead of this weekend?
Daisen will be out. He felt his hamstring a little bit at the towards the end of the last game against Motherwell. He went away internationally to see if it would get better, but he obviously didn't play when he was away. So he will miss this weekend, and we'll assess it after that. Paolo's been ill, so we'll see how he recovers the next 24 hours. Apart from that, everyone okay.
How do you assess the start to the season, Brendan? Probably that the start of the season is now over. This really starting to get into it. How do you assess what you've done so far, and what needs to improve for you over the coming months?
Well, I think it's always a challenge, the European aspect of everything, and there was a lot obviously made of the past and what has happened, but really it's addressing now the future going forward. We've been showed glimpses of our game in a lot of our domestic games, but just need to find a more consistent level, and of course that's something that we and something I'm really looking forward to doing. The players here, they're working very, very hard. We had a really good victory in the last game against a good team that were unbeaten in the league so far, so we knew we had to really work for that, and we showed our spirit and our quality by the end of that game. So we want to continue on that vein. Now the focus is very much on the 7 games in 21 days, and that's my only focus. So, as you heard there, obviously, Baz, Celtic have got 7 games in 21 days. That's quite a lot of football, mate, and quite a quick succession. Brendan speaking on there, the early season, obviously it's a bit of a tug of war there to try and combat what's going on in terms of the calendar already, and then you've got international breaks getting flung in there. Do you think that's been an aspect, Baz, as to why maybe the momentum's not been quite there because of the stop and start we've had as well? Obviously, as soon as you get a couple of games in, it's an international break, and you get another couple, and it's an international break. Do you think that's potentially, obviously, why we're still trying to find this rhythm?
Of course, obviously with international breaks, it can be beneficial at times, but a club like Celtic, the majority of your squad's going away internationally, so you're not getting a chance to work with them in the training field. So the season started, and I think this will be the one in November will be the 3rd international break that we've had already. So that's in the space of 3-4 months. We've had 3 international breaks, so it's been a bit stop-start. New players coming in as well. You don't really want that. You want time to work with them and get them to know their teammates. So it can play a part of why we've not really seen like the team gelling and hitting it off straight away. But like he touched on, there's 7 games in 21 days. I said the other night, after the next international break is when you'll probably really see Celtic start to motor and go up a few gears. But I said as well the other night that this period of games that we've got coming up, massive games, that we need to win them and find a way to win them. Like I said as well, it doesn't matter how you play in these games, it's about winning them. Because I firmly believer that after this next international break, you've got 3 or 4 months of football with no breaks, and that's when you'll really see the proper Brendan Rodgers team that we've seen over the years. He obviously, it's not just been these international breaks. There's been a lot of fans discontent as well as the European result. So there's been loads of things that went wrong, really. But as Brendan said there in the presser, it's about putting that aside now and looking forward. That you can't dwell in the past. It's done, and we've got the squad that we've got, and it's about working with them and getting the best out of them, and really try to do it as quickly as possible. But these international breaks definitely don't help.
Yeah. In terms of Dundee, their sale bars, obviously, but how big a threat do you see them posing for Sunday?
No disrespect, but I don't think it'll be a problem for Celtic on Sunday. We should have more than enough to go there and comfortably win the game. I've watched a bit of the Rangers game with Dundee, and even when Rangers went down to 10 men, they actually played better. It probably killed Dundee a bit. Dundee kind of sat back and let Rangers dominate the ball and let them come at them. And if the game went on for probably a little bit longer, Rangers would have probably won the game that day. So I wasn't really totally impressed with them that day, even though it was a great result for them. But I think the Celtic teams will cause a lot of problems on Sunday night. It could be frustrating, but I just can't see it. I think Celtic will score and win by a couple of goals on Sunday. I think it's a perfect time and a perfect team to play against for this Celtic team at the minute. I think they'll have a lot of the ball the most weeks, but I can't really see us getting hot going the other way either. The defence have been good the majority of the season, so I think it will be like an attack v defence, and it's just whatever I've got enough to break a low block down. But I think Brendan would have been working on that with the players that we've had, and we've been quite lucky that we've had people like Lucia, Iniacho that have not been away and they've been able to train this week, the last 2 weeks. So Brendan will be working on what's coming up, and obviously Dundee's the next game. It's standing our way, so I reckon there'll be a lot of work this week in the final third and trying to create and score goals.
Yeah, because that's obviously, and there's been games this season, Baz, where they've struggled to kind of score goals, and it's been kind of a wee bit toothless up top. Kind of midfield defence have been fine, but up top we've kind of lacked that wee bit of spark. But in terms of the team, Baz, where do you think Brendan will go with his team selection, mate?
I know we speak about Sinisalo, and this is the thing about big clubs as well. You see people make a mistake and you're quick to jump on, and because we've got this new goalie waiting who's done really well when he's played. But you need to realise as well that who we're actually speaking about Dratham here, he's not just one of the best goalies in the league. He's massive in the changing room. He's a leader. For me, there's no better goalie in the league. He's got to play. We've no spoken about. He made a massive save at Motherwell in the Motherwell game in the first half that nobody really spoke about. But he starts for me every day of the week. I think he's more than just a big player. He's a leader, and a very big leader and a very big voice in that changing room. So to drop him, I think would be criminal. Sinisalo will get his time, but I just think at the minute Casper Schmeichel's there, he's got to be the number one for us. So I think he'll start Casper in goal. I think he'll go Anthony Ralston right back. I think the two centre halves will be Carter Vickers, Scales. I think Kieran Tierney will come back in at left back. never played a lot of football for Scotland, sub both games, so he'll be fresh. Sirachi's obviously been away with Uruguay and probably travelled a bit, so I reckon KT will start at left back on Sunday. I think the midfield will be the midfield that finished the Motherwell game. I think he'll go McGregor, Nygren and Engels. So as I've spoken about, I thought they finished the game very strong, that team that was on the park that day, and they were a big party at the midfield three.
Yeah.
So I think Engels will come in and play with Nygren and McGregor. I think the thing about Engels and Nygren as well, playing against low box, sometimes it's hard to get in behind, but you get a lot of territory around the opposition's box, and they like to let shots go, whereas Hatate will look for a pass, and McCowan's pretty similar, looks for the nice passes and the give and goes. But I think Sunday, we're aimed to, if it's a low block, we'll need people who can shoot from outside the box, and they two are more suited, I think, to that. So I think that'll be the midfield three, and I think the front three will be Taneke left, Alec Wisha on the right, and Iniacho through the middle. I'm a bit disappointed that Maid is injured. I was wanting to see a reaction for that goal. I was interested to see how he'd react to scoring that goal that he scored before we went away to the international break. So I'm a bit gutted. But at the same time, I'm excited to see Alec Wisha. There's no excuses now. He's been in the door for a while. He needs to perform on Sunday if he gets the chance, because there's people waiting in the wings. Daizen Maeda doesn't seem to be too bad, so he might not be out for too long. So this is his chance to hold the jersey, because Maeda's not really be performing. So if he comes in now and starts to perform, then he's got the jersey. So as much as I'm devastated that Maeda's out, I'm happy to see what Alec Wisha's like after a few weeks of training and working with Brendan and working with the players in the training ground. I've seen Iniacho said he's closest mates Alec Wisha in the interview the other day. So I'd imagine they two will they should have a bit of telepathic connection on Sunday. That tends to happen when you play with your mates. Alongside you start to strike up the connections. So be interested to see how they two link up together on Sunday. So I think that'll be the front three, and I think it's a strong 11 that will win. I think Celtic will win 3 or 4-0 in the weekend.
Nice one, Buzz. Sean, how do you follow that, mate? What team you selecting? And aye, go for it, give us a score.
I can't really argue with what Barry said, to be honest. I do agree Casper's number one, but I think in these games at home we could be, letting Sinisalo get a run out. But Casper Schmeichel, he's the number one. And the save Barry was talking about, it was a tremendous save. He came out, he spread himself. I think it was Boy was on the right hand side, and it was gone in the bottom corner. And it was some save. But I'd probably go the same, Schmeichel. I'd probably go Donovan at right back. I like the look of Donovan, and Alston's just too. He doesn't offer enough going forward. He wants to just come back all the time, and he doesn't. I can't remember what game it was. I think it was the Rangers game. McGregor plays a pass out to him, and he's about 10 yards away from it, Ralston, because he's just sitting so deep. So I'd probably go Donovan at right back. It's a game that you probably could play a young player in. And it's an away game, and good experience for the boy. But then I'd go Carter Vickers, Scales, Tierney at left back, and I'd probably go the same midfield three. McGregor, Nygren, and Engels, and same front three and all. Alec Wisha, Iniacho and Taneke. I think the only maybe I can't see it, but possibly putting Yang out the right just for the
Don't say that. Don't say that.
No, possibly. I mean, he could just for the
No,
harm,
you say that.
just for the front three harmony, like somebody on the right cutting in on the left, somebody on the left cutting in on the right, and then you've got the actual through the middle. I don't want to see it. I'm not here saying I want to see it, but Brendan's, who knows what Brendan would do.
If Yang plays on Sunday, Sean, my hangover's going to be worse than what I think it's going to be.
Do you know, these are the type of games. These are the type of games too that Yang probably plays well in.
No, I know.
I don't know. I personally would like to see Balak on the right, but I would not be surprised if Brendan, for the harmony of that front three, given what I've said about right on the left, cutting in on your left cutting in on the right, he might just do that. But I think other than probably Donovan for Ralston, I'm pretty much the same as Barry with his team selection.
Fair dues. Right, we man, go for it.
And Baz has summed it up perfectly. I think it's the same team, exact same team. I did say to you earlier, I think Balak would play on the right. He's got to prove himself now, as Baz says. He's got a big chance now. Away to Dundee, massive chance. Obviously, there's pressure, but he's not Ibrox, he's not Tynecastle, he's not Celtic Park. He's away to Dundee, one of the teams just not performing well. Big chance to go and shine and do well. So I'm agreeing with Baz well. I think Tierney, he'll be fresh. If he's got to play 75 minutes, then Tarazzi or even AJ comes in and plays there, or swap with obviously Ralston, whatever he's got to do. Agree with Sean. I think Tony Ralston's, this potentially could be his last year if we want to progress, etc. But I just think the experience of Ralston and just I think he's, for me, he's a second choice, so I think he's probably going to come in and play. But no, I'm at Baz as well. I think a few goals could be, it's beneficial as well to start scoring goals, because we need to start getting into the knack of that. But quite a good point as well that Baz touched on as well. I think we did go on a wee spell last year. It was nowhere about this time, but I think it was January, February. But we drew with St. John, we beat St. Johnstone, I think we drew against Dundee. We're only performing well. This could be this wee patch, and then after the national break, and now we just start motoring on. So, that's just the same team for me, mate. And I think same as Baz. But see on that, Baz, as well, obviously the amount of games, obviously yourself, the championship is like Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday. Sometimes it's constant. But a lot of games, and I'm guessing training is not as much. It's more recovery and just playing games all the time.
Obviously, the ones who don't play, obviously, they're a bit more. But we've got a 3-game week coming up ourselves, and I think we play the Mora. We'll be in Sunday for recovery session. The ones who don't play the Mora will train a bit harder outside. Monday will be off. Tuesday's very light, preparing for the Wednesday game against Middlesbrough. Same again, I'd imagine Thursday after Middlesbrough, the ones who recovered it started. The ones that didn't play will do a tougher session outside with the younger boys. Friday, basically just walk through tactics on the training pitch. Meeting room Friday, look at Oxford, who we play on Saturday, in and out of possession, and then Saturday games. So, if you're in the starting 11, you do very little in a 3-game week, apart from the obviously 90 minutes games.
That's interesting. That is interesting, actually, to find out you get recovery and all that in between, because that's a big part of the game now, recovery. My team for Sunday, I picked it earlier. I was actually having a chat with my dad. I think the team will be...
I hope Yang's the one.
For the record, I'm not saying put Yang on it. I'm just saying.
No, I can understand.
Let's prepare ourselves anew for it.
I can understand where Sean's coming from.
Yang's sitting his sister now, and his ears are going like
that. Yang, his bird's back here, so he's probably sitting having a wee date night with her before the game on Sunday, mate. He's probably
he's
due to play in his
It's probably him that's been getting the Virgin Media head and no me.
He's due. Aye, he's got the HDMI logo linked in, man. He's apparently he's getting it tattooed on him if he scores on Sunday. Don't shoot a messenger. That's what I've heard. But no, my team earlier, I picked it earlier. I said Schmeichel, Carter Vicker, Scales. I've went with Sriracha at left back. I think he'll come in and play there, and I think he'll start AJ. I think AJ will play about 60 minutes. We have you to start them against Graz on Thursday. I also think McGregor, Engels and Nygren will be the midfield three, and I picked the same forward line, lads, Balikwisha, Aniacho and Tenetke. But although I did say today, I think you maybe see Tenetke moving over to the right-hand side and giving Balikwisha a chance on the left. Because Tenetke played 46 minutes for Tunisia the other day on the... I've never heard of this in my life. He was apparently agreed to play that amount, and he left the game right after he came off. So he came off and his plane was due in 50 minutes from when he was substituted. So he had to go and come back on a flight back to Glasgow. I don't think I've ever heard of that in my puff. So yeah, but he played out in the right for Tunisia apparently. Apparently did very well as well. So I don't know about you lads. I'm just looking forward to Celtic being back. Obviously getting back to the domestic football, which we all love. Not everybody's cup of tea is the international break. I've always been a Scotland fan since I was a boy. I'll always continue to be, but it's not for everybody. People prefer the club football and getting back to that. And yeah, but I'm the same as Baz. I'm going to go 5-0 Celtic. I think Celtic will run riot on Sunday.
Yang hat-trick.
Yang hat-trick, aye. Apparently he's getting a tattoo artist onto the pitch right after the game for HDMI logo getting tattooed on him.
Imagine that, by the way. Imagine he scored and he's like Virgin Media signs that. Oh man, that'll be brilliant.
He said if he doesn't, he's got to get a photo of his missus to remind. He's got to get one on his bum to remind him that she made an arse out becoming out at this time of the year.
Oh, it's getting late for you, man. It's time to go to your bed, man. Jesus.
Take a darker turn there.
But no, listen, lads, good chat tonight. Baz, thank you very much for taking the time with us, mate. I know you've got a game tomorrow on that, mate. So cheers again for coming on and having a chat with us.
No, it's been brilliant. Obviously, I love coming on here, so whenever I get the chance, it's good to come on and talk about Celtic, obviously. And hopefully, like I say, we all have a good weekend. We won tomorrow and then Celtic won on Sunday, and I can come on next week and be happy and not complaining about things.
And not just that, Baz, obviously there's a game going on at the Big House that was sold out because they thought that Steven Gerrard was... It is a Steven that's in charge, but it's no Steven Gerrard that's in charge of the game at Ibrox tomorrow for a Dundee United game. So here's hoping there could be a wee drop points in there for you, mate, to keep you smiling as well.
You never know, mate, the way they're going at the minute. I keep saying that they're going to start winning at some point, but I said that about 6 weeks ago. It's no change. So hope it continues.
I said that 10 years ago.
I said JP keeps saying about us winning Europe at home at some point, but I don't know when it's going to be.
It's gone for sacked at Christmas to sacked at Halloween. That's what it's gone now.
Right. What was the man I seen today? Only another 2 Rangers managers till Santa comes.
At this rate, the Rangers never even get to see Santa.
I know.
Aye. Aye, apparently they had to sack Russell Martin. Apparently invited Santa to Loch Lomond with him for an afternoon tea.
A Santa Cove therapy session. Cold water therapy session.
Cold water.
Oh, it's good, but it's really good stuff, man.
Watch this. We'll get beaten Sunday and they'll be slagging us.
We'll close the gap.
I know.
Aye,
man.
I've just said
Aye,
in
well-
live podcast, Dundee, Celtic will beat Dundee 5-0. There we go.
Oh,
I'm
Jesus.
put my hat on that one. You've said
Well,
4-0, by
well,
Sean, you never,
a couple of
you never
goals.
said a scoreline, to be fair.
4-0, I've said, man, I'll get pelters in Monday morning.
You'll get Presley and he's in his pressers, weren't he, on Sunday? Or he podcasters and YouTubers talking about me.
Aye.
Oh,
I
man.
tell you what, Celtic won 5-0. Baz is picking me up, man. We're going outside Ben's Park, man. We'll be like, milk, lemonade chocolate, milk, lemonade chocolate. Tremendous. Where's the manager? Where is he? Come on, let's see him. Sean, obviously, it's been good to get your cell on as well, mate. Thanks for your time, mate.
No, thanks for having us, guys. It's always good to go with Barry's on because he's played the game as it speaks and he knows everything that goes on, and it's good to get his insight. And I always enjoy when Barry's on, and the same with yourselves, JP and Ryan. You run the pod really well, and it's always a pleasure to be invited on the show. I do appreciate it.
Aye, it's tough to talk with you, man, isn't it, when you've got all these dilemmas to deal with, especially your Wi-Fi and everything else. I need to let you go shortly. You're getting a Friday night special for you, is it not?
Well, actually, I think Gang and Liam Scales might be coming up tonight, mate, so that's a good one for you to watch.
It's not right. I heard through the great many day that Lucy Pinder's not Loch Lomond. She's on your show tonight at 10:30.
I tell you, if she's in my show, it's not getting filmed tonight, I'll tell you that.
Wi-Fi will be all right at 10:30.
Wi-Fi will be all right, but she's on it, I'll tell you that.
They're not ring with the Wi-Fi at 10:30. I assure you that.
Well, I'll tell you what, if she's coming, it's no Virgin, it'll be anyway. We're past that stage.
All the devices will be half telly.
Everything's off, lights off, a lot.
By the way, that's why he was making homemade polo Milanese. That was when it was.
Oh, man.
Lucy's strolling into town.
Jesus.
Aye. She's bringing that CD with her and sing along with Russell, won't she? Tremendous, man. But no, thanks to everybody that's tuned in with us across the platforms, all you guys in the comments. Cheers for taking the time with us on this Friday evening. If you're going to a game on Sunday, please enjoy, have a good time, and wrap up well, because there's a bit of a freeze on its way apparently up north. As from tomorrow, so I'd imagine it's going to be pretty cold. Usually there's a wee joke in there that -9 or -8 or whatever it is, but no, I'm being serious. The weather's supposed to take a turn up north tomorrow apparently, so if you are travelling, safe travels. Most importantly, have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you all again on Monday night for the aftermath of Celtic Dundee. But for the time being, hail folks, take care. See you all again.
Hail, guys.
Bye-bye.
Hail. See you
Cheers,
soon.
guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Sets up Larsson here. Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! O'Reilly. How about that for a pass? Jota! How about that for a finish? That is Jota for you! In for Henrik Larsson. And Moravcik! His first goal for Celtic! Here is Shunsuke Nakamura!